everybody. Hey, Juicy.
Hey.
How we doing? I know I'm tired too. Okay, so where do we start? First of all, I want to say thank you. I want to express my gratitude, and also I could use a handheld mic if someone wants to bring it over. Thank you so much to Ashley, to everybody who has helped to make Juicy Canada possible. It's amazing to see that this is happening. Again, the second year, thank you. And gosh, it's just come so far. So thank you to all of you for coming to take your time and your money and your energy out of your day to come and be a part of this thing. It's very important, and I'm going to talk to you about why it is so important in this talk and why I want to recruit you. Honestly, to be more than just people who run workspaces, and why that needs to be the case, why I need you to be more than just workspace managers. You don't see it there, but down there it says Tony Be Good. That's my Twitter handle. It's a very special day for me. Every day that I come to a Juicy, I get to be surrounded by people who inspire me, and so I hope that you get to meet some folks who inspire you as well here. And it's more than that for me. If you see the bingo card and you see there's the entry for Fell in Love at a Coworking conference, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in the room who can check it for you, so come have me sign it. And my lady's actually right over there. We met at the Juicy in 2013. She's recording my talk right now, so I love Juicy forever, I'll tell you that. Okay, so, and I'm also grateful for the challenge of being given the 4 p.m. or the 4:30 p.m., 4:40 p.m. slot, because I'm ready to take a nap. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, you're feeling it too, right? Okay, so my challenge that I'm grateful for is that I'm going to give you a reason to actually want to sit through one last talk before it's time to have some drinks. So can we loosen up a little bit first? Can we just kind of shake our shoulders out a little bit? Maybe wiggle our hips if you can. Do a little neck crack, feeling it? Yeah? Okay, we're going to take it nice and easy. Maybe just a big breath. I live in Boulder, Colorado, but we're not going to do a big om.
Why not?
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. Who am I? Why am I talking in front of you here? Well, so I got into the coworking movement in 2007 in New York City when coworking was something that happened in a living room in a loft apartment in Midtown. And I was working from home for a web development company, living in my parents' house. And I loved working from home until it started driving me a little crazy, right? And so I wanted to get out. And when I went to that first co-working event, a thing called Jelly, at this Manhattan loft apartment, that was the first time I had ever been in a room with people my age who worked for themselves, who were liberated, and they were free, and they were doing what they wanted, and they were making a living. And most amazingly, they welcomed me. And I felt like a schmuck because I was the only guy there who actually had a salaried job because I was telecommuting. But they welcomed me, they accepted me. And so I just wanted that all the time, every day, for me and for everybody else. Because I never liked the way that I thought work worked. It always was this thing that I just perceived as being, oh, well, you could do whatever you want, but you're probably going to end up getting a job and hating it. And that's the relationship that the world has with work, right? The world's relationship with work kind of sucks. A lot of people out there have this perspective of work sucks. It's something you do for somebody else. You have to commute in a car, you sit in a cubicle, you hate your boss, you count the minutes to the weekend, right? You probably can't read this, but this is just a Reddit thread I picked out recently where people are going back and forth about work, and one guy's like, is this really what I have to look forward to in life? Is being miserable all the time? And the response is, yeah, pretty much. Right? That's terrible. We spend so much of our adult lives working, And so this isn't good. And here's the problem. It gets worse because that's the old way of doing things, right? Full-time job working for a boss 9 to 5 for a salary. And now we don't have those things anymore as much because traditional employment is going away and it's being replaced by something different, by a workforce that isn't employed by a traditional employer. And to a lot of us, to a lot of our members of our co-working spaces, that's a really good thing because it's liberation. It lets us pursue our dreams. It lets us do whatever we want. But to a lot of people, this whole thing is really freaking scary, right? I mean, it's scary. It's scary for all of us, working for ourselves, building businesses. And so even the idea of having a job, it's almost like a lot of folks are wishing that they could just have a job to resent, right? I mean, it's better than this super scary thing of having to figure it all out yourself, right? And so there are a lot of people now who are joining this economy or trying to figure out how to even get started joining this economy, and the whole thing is way too much, right? It's too scary, it's too complicated, it's hard. But we know there's a better way. We've seen it, we've experienced it, right? We've all been in co-working spaces, we've seen what it's like when people work for themselves. I saw it the first day I ever walked into a co-working community, and I wanted to be a part of it all the time. And that's why I got into this movement, because I saw that the world's relationship with work sucked. And I saw that when I walked into that apartment, that was going to be the answer. The problem is, shifts on this scale take a long time. They're generational shifts, they take decades, which is why we need every single person in this room and a whole bunch of people who aren't to dedicate themselves every day to helping people make this transition, and co-working spaces are the answer, right? We see it every day, all kinds of awesome stuff happening. And notice, I took these pictures, I didn't take all these pictures, but I obtained all of these pictures, and they're all of people doing stuff together, right? These are co-working communities, but they're not just on laptops, they're connecting, they're helping each other, right? They're the bees forming the hive. And what we're at as a society is that we're at a societal crossroads where people in the traditional work are looking at the new way of doing work, and they either see it as being something where they're on their own and they're going to be, they're stuck, there are no more jobs, and it's just going to get harder, or where they can be exposed to the possibility of this new way of doing work and how that can help people to work so much better than that crap job that they resent, right? And this graphic is terrible, my apologies. But that's the decision, right, that a lot of people are making. And the problem that we're seeing right now is that a lot of people just aren't seeing that other path. And I think that the story we're telling around co-working maybe isn't communicating that as well as it can, which is why in the course of the rest of my conversation here, I want to talk to you about how to help all of you in whatever way that you can to address this in the best possible way for your co-working space to be perceived not just as an office space, but really as a place where people can come and be exposed to that other better path. That slide wasn't supposed to be there. That was an even worse graphic, if you believe it or not. Okay, anyway, so what do we do? Thank goodness, thank you for the laughs. So what do we do? How do we address this? We have to just be awesome. Not just awesome, authentically, truly, completely, transcendently awesome. We have to do stuff that stands out, that really gets people to understand the things that we have seen. And so how do you be awesome? If I may, I would like to give you a few tips. Having tasted a little bit of awesomeness in my life and seen a whole lot of it, especially having visited so many great co-working communities all over the world. So these are some things that I've learned in my 9-ish year journey of witnessing all of this in co-working. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. I get afraid I walk away from the mic. Okay. So, number one, be real. So, who saw Cool Runnings? Remember Cool Runnings? Anybody? Okay. Jamaican bobsled team based on a true story against all odds. You know, Jamaica doesn't have ice, but they compete in the Winter Olympics on a bobsled team. And when they struggled, it was when they were trying to imitate the evil Scandinavian team that always wins all the medals, right? And they were trying to do it their way. And then when they did it their way, and when they were just being awesome and having fun, it didn't matter that they didn't win the medals because they were winners, right? And they did great. They were themselves, right? So you have to find the personality that works for you. And don't sweat the fact that there's some giant, super well-funded, super co-working emporium moving across the street from you, right? There's always going to be some better funded thing, but they're never going to have the heart and soul that you have. So be real, be you. Try things. So you're never going to know exactly how these things unfold. And I'm actually going to go into more detail on another point on this. But don't be afraid to just do different stuff. And when a member comes to you and says, you know, hey, I've got an idea for, I want to turn the basement closet into a podcast room. say yes, go for it, right? Let people get into that kind of stuff. I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. Don't attach to outcomes. This is especially important when you're getting started. If you're thinking about opening a co-working space and you're saying, okay, I want to know if there's going to be enough people for this. You don't know, you can't know until you start trying something. And maybe the first time you do it, it's only going to be a few people that show up. Maybe it's one person, right? But if that one person shows up to a thing that you tried, that person was the person who was actually willing to take a chance, even when they didn't know who you were, there were no RSVPs on the list, right? That person was hungry enough to give it a shot. That person could end up being your business partner, your first customer, your first investor, who knows, right? And so every single person gives you information that you can use to continue to build your community. And so don't try to attach too much to outcomes. Listen to the information that's coming to you, and then work with that, and that helps a lot. Like I was saying before, say yes, right? When somebody comes to you and they want to do something, always look for those opportunities to empower the people around you, because if you put it all on you and you try to provide, then the community is only going to be as great as you're capable of sustaining it. And I can tell you from personal experience, multiple burnouts, and from having witnessed it from my other friends who've done this for many years, and I know some of the experienced ones are nodding their heads, you will burn out. So you can't make this all depend on you. You need to find ways to empower and engage the other folks who are in your community to take ownership over this community, so that it's not just you doing it. And that largely really comes down to saying yes. And I'll give you a quick little tip on how to do that in a moment. So the quintessential example that I have of this is Indy Hall. Who knows Indy Hall? Yeah? All right, yeah, great. Jen's over here from repping Indy Hall. So they say yes really well. And here's why that's important, because when you say yes, you're able to diversify. And when you diversify, you're able to not just be a co-working space, and that's what helps to attract members, it helps to keep members, it helps to keep your business model more spread out so that you're not as beholden to the changes in real estate. And so Indy Hall said yes to members when they came up to talk about things that they wanted to do. And one of them in particular, Sean Martirana, who's an artist, came up and said, Alex, I see you've got walls. May I put art on them? Yes, Sean, yes you may. Can I do an exhibit to show people my art? Yes, of course you may. Can I do an event where the members put their art on the walls and sell it to people once a month? Sure, yes, go for it, right? And so now they have this incredible Indy Hall Arts. It has its own Instagram account, right? It has all of these incredible events happening, right? And the members are selling their art, right? Do you think these people are having trouble attracting members? Right? They're having fun. It's amazing. And so some members got together and said, we want to start a farmer's market. Can we do a farmer's market here? And they said yes, right? So now there's the Nerd Street Farmer's Market. This is a real thing. And what's important about this, and this gets press, by the way. So if you're ever wondering how to get press, right? Don't go to your local press and say, hey, I opened up a workspace. Like, that's good if your city doesn't have any co-working spaces, but a lot of them do now. So you have to think about what's newsworthy, and what's newsworthy is community built a farmer's market. Community built its own arts collective, right? All of these interesting things really helps to make yourself more press-worthy, more newsworthy, more interesting to the attention of people. And again, this doesn't come from you, it comes from the people who are in your space. But we have to figure out how to get into the heads of those people, because sometimes it's kind of hard, because it's very easy for people to get into a habit of, I'm very busy, come into work, get on my computer, put on my headphones, and it's very hard to break that. But I have a trick for you that we're going to get to in just a moment. I already said, don't do it all yourself, right? Recruit the help of the people around you as much as you can, and we can talk more about that. Okay, so here it is, my secret ninja awesome community building power technique. You guys with me? We good so far?
Yes.
I say right too often, I'm really sorry. Okay, this is the secret. It's the kitchen. And here's why the kitchen is important. It's because it's one of the only places where you can reasonably expect you're going to find people when they aren't on their screens. and when you aren't on your screens. And so one of the things you can do, and I can't describe the amazing power of this. I've done it a few times. I need to do it more. You guys need to do it more. Is I come in at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8:30 or whatever it is, and I just feel like I'm having trouble engaging my members. I've been eyeball deep in social media and editing my MailChimp and trying to figure out how to get people to show up and engage people in the space. And I realize that I've been in my screen, and meanwhile there are human beings all around me, right? And that's where there's all of this incredible potential. And so when I remember this, I get up in the morning and I don't look at my computer and I just hang out in the kitchen. And what happens in the kitchen, especially in the morning, is people come in, they get their coffee, they maybe making a little breakfast, and that's before the internet has taken over their brains too much, right? So it's a great time to talk to them. And at this point, you don't need to talk business, right? Just what's going on? What'd you do this weekend? Do you have kids? What do you do when you're not here? And if you talk to folks just a little bit and really genuinely listen to what they are telling you, amazing things are going to happen. You get to know them personally at the very least. But maybe you find out that they have a need that you can help them with, a person you can connect them to in the space, or a thing that they've been wanting to do or try that you can help them do with their space, with your space, right? And so, I'm still saying right too much.
No.
All right, so one time I did this and I talked to one of my members who was there for years. I ran a space in New York from 2008 to 2015, by the way, after being inspired by that jelly thing. And now I help run one in Boulder, where I live with Amy, and called Atomic 20. And so if you come to Boulder, come visit. Anyway, so I talked to this one member, and I've known her for years, great member, and I figured she, got what was going on. And I talked to her, I did exactly what I told you, and she said, I said, what are you up to? And she's like, well, I'm thinking about starting this group, like a support group for indie tech workers to kind of talk about, the different challenges we deal with, but I'm having trouble finding a venue for it. I'm like, you are? What are you talking about? She's like, well, I want to be able to go somewhere where we can have like a space to ourselves, and I'm like, do it here. What are you talking about? Do it here. Of course, we'd love to host an event like that. And she's like, oh, well, I don't know. We'd want to be able to drink. I'm like, okay, that's fine, bring some drinks, let's do it. And so she started a group. And that group met, once a week for a while, and it was great, and it brought a bunch of people together, and it was a great community event. And I only ever would have known that she had that little idea in her noggin because I bothered to stand around and talk to her instead of sticking my nose in the computer trying to figure out how to market to her, right? And so that was an important moment, an important lesson for me. So if you're ever trying to think about how do I engage my members, how do I get them to get involved in stuff, how do I get them to talk to me instead of running to their computer, spend an hour or 2 or 3 or a whole day just hanging out in the kitchen, don't touch your computer, and just talk to whoever wants to talk to you. Bring donuts, bring bagels, bring some strawberries, bring some wine. I cannot overestimate to you the value of food and drink. It is where people connect, I swallowed it right there, by the way, so I'm learning. Okay, people. Okay, so moving on, articulating a higher purpose. So this is important. You can't just be a co-working space. You can, but we want to be about something more, right? We want to be about something like what we're talking about. If your mission statement is provide a really nice workspace, that's going to get you some, only so far. But if your mission is, I want to make a better city for anyone who wants to work for themselves. We want to support the growth of the independent workforce in our city. We want anyone who wants to work for themselves to be able to find everybody and everything they need to be able to succeed and thrive. That's a goal that transcends workspace. That's a goal that can send you in a lot of very exciting directions. And when you think about, like, Indy Hall has their arts and their farmers market, and they have a whole bunch of other stuff that they're doing. If that building shut down tomorrow and they couldn't be a co-working space anymore for a while, they'd still be around, right? Because there's a mission that's bigger than the co-working space. And if we can put that to our heart, then we can operate a better co-working space, but we can also have a greater impact. And that's one of the things I hope we get a chance to talk about in the unconference tomorrow, is finding a way to articulate exactly what that impact is that we have and that we aim for. Because if we can do that, then we can aim for that, and we can collaborate with each other around that. Even within the same city, within other co-working spaces, to say, okay, we're all co-working spaces in the same city, we don't want to be competitors, we all have the same general mission, which is to help this workforce. Let's go after a goal. Let's help 1,000 people start their independent careers, right? If we can find a way to come up with a number or a thing to go after, I think that'll help us to really be able to organize some of the stuff that we want to do or that we're already doing. And just a quick note, if you think that co-working is at saturation, or if the other co-working spaces in your city are competition, at the previous GCUC in Los Angeles, Steve King, the oracle of co-working, did a study, he did the numbers, and he said that we are now at 2% penetration for the potential market for co-working. Our biggest competition is not each other, but the fact that people don't understand and perceive the value of what a co-working space is, which is why this is so important, because the other 98 really need us. And so the only way we're going to really be able to do that is if we work together. So don't mistake your co-working spaces for competitors. You guys are just competing over the people who get it. But there's so many more people who don't yet get it. And if we can work together to access that better, then we're all gonna benefit a lot. Okay, develop seasonal rhythms. I'm gonna blow through a couple of these. Seasonal rhythms, this is important. One of the things that kind of sucks about running a co-working space, especially if you've been running it for years, is that nothing spectacular really happens on its own after you open the doors. It's really easy to get a lot of excitement going in the beginning because there's all of this anticipation, there's this potential, there's the construction, putting up the furniture, right? All of this stuff is very exciting, but then it's there. And then if you're not careful, your job every day is to keep things the same, and that starts to get lame for you and it starts to get lame for them. And so one of the things you want to be thinking about is, again, your job is not to do that. Your job is to continually challenge people and help people and educate people. And one of the ways I've found to do that is to look at things in terms of seasons. A lot of people tend to join co-working spaces right after Labor Day, right after September 1st, and right after January 1st. Times when people are moving, kids are going back to school, right? Career changes, things like that. People move in seasonal ways, and so should we. We should design programs that are specifically geared towards recruiting people around those time periods and saying, hey, let's set our goals for the fall. It's Labor Day, let's figure out how we're gonna help each other all the way through to the holidays, and then let's do it again in January. If we design our programming and our messaging around that, it will help to sort of work with what's actually happening in our spaces. This is a quick diagram I drew up of sort of how this evolves over time, where your initial membership is the purple, where you get a bunch of people coming in and then they start to taper off over time, and then there's another season's worth of members that come in and then they taper off over time. And then over time you have these different generations of members, and so if you design for that, things will move more smoothly. And lastly, celebrate. Newark City was my co-working space in New York. I loved it very dearly, right up until the day that we closed it last year. And a lot of other people loved it very dearly. Amy actually created a little book of memories and passed it around to the members at our grand closing party. And it is jam-packed with people telling stories and expressing their gratitude for the 7.5 years that we did crazy awesome stuff right in the heart of New York City. And when I think back on that time, and when I think about why people love Newark City so much, and they still do, our Google group is still going, and we closed 1.5 years ago, right? It's in part because we had a great community and a cool space and a charming, charismatic leader. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Got some laughs, all right. But we did fun stuff. We had fun. We threw crazy random parties. We had this one moment where we made up a fake startup, and we threw a launch party for the fake startup. You know, and our friends had this. Some of the members had this crazy idea to do a startup funeral, which was, you always have startup launch parties, but then you're never seeing much about when they go away, right? It's always just kind of, what happened to that company, right? So they did a funeral where actually startup founders came and gave eulogies for their startups. It was amazing. It was super fun. We all got to play in the macabre a little bit. Macabre! and it was actually super educational for other business founders. That got press. I didn't have a snap of it, but that was in, I think, Forbes. That was all over the press, right? We have fun, especially around the holidays, potluck, Thanksgiving dinners, Halloween parties. Have fun, because it doesn't last forever. And we are ultimately, at the end of the day, we are people together. And the more that we can be people, the more that we can be humans, treat each other like humans, the happier we're all going to be and the better world we're going to have. Because again, we got a lot of people out there who are feeling separated, alone, afraid, suffering from sort of the way that things used to be, not working out anymore, and just not feeling included, not feeling like they belong to something that supports them. So the more we can cultivate a culture of belonging, a culture of celebration, celebrating each other, the better we're going to be. Ask a member when you're hanging out in the kitchen, what did you do that you want to celebrate? This is a great thing to do at events, by the way, if you're ever looking for something that's kind of fun. You can do this at a small event, at a big event. When you have a bunch of members who don't work for a big company, ask them, what did you do that you're proud of this week? Anything, even if it's the tiniest thing. Somebody says, I got my program to compile for the first time. I've been working on it for 6 months. Has he actually said that out loud until this moment? This is a chance for all of them. Hey, all right, awesome, celebrate, right? One of the co-working organizers in, oh man, I forgot his name, Matthias, who runs Sharing EC in Brazil. He does a monthly birthday celebration. So they have a monthly happy hour, and anyone whose birthday is that month, they celebrate all of their birthdays all in one shot. Neat. Those are the kinds of things people remember and that make them really love and feel part of your space. Okay, getting to the end. So there's an awesome book that I love so much called Community. It's by Peter Block, and I'm like 40 pages in, and I've already just run out of highlighter. But he says, if we don't change the way citizens come together, then we will have to keep waiting for great leaders, and we will never step up to the power and accountability that is within our grasp. And this is part of why, again, speaking in terms of macro political terms, this is important. I like positivity, so I reversed this statement, and I rewrote it and said, if we change the way citizens come together, then we won't have to wait for great leaders. We're not getting them anytime soon, at least not down there. And we will step up to the power and accountability that is within our grasp. The positive change that happens in the world is going to happen not from the top down, but from the bottom up, and we are bottom up. Co-working is all over the planet. It is getting bigger every day, and we are it. We are a movement. We are not just an industry, and we are the reason that the world's going to move. Thank you. It sounds like I've recruited you, so I've done my job. I'm going to tell you about a few projects I'm working on, and then I'm going to get off the stage pretty close to on time. I run an organizers club, so New York City was my co-working space. New York Cities is my consultancy. So my organizers club, we have a toolkit of basically everything I've developed that I can share. And we have a mastermind group, and we're basically working together to support each other. We have about 20 spaces on board now. And I'm just really happy to be doing whatever I can to help other co-working space organizers succeed. I'm also part of an organization called All Good Work. It is a brand new thing. I'm working with a couple of great guys on it. Basically, it helps you if you have extra workspace that you can offer up to nonprofits or social enterprise organizations. If any of you run a space, how many of you run a space? All right, how many of you have been hit up by somebody for free or discounted space? All right, so we'll help you handle that. This organization helps you handle that because they say, go to this website and there's an application process, and we've put up a number of seats, and these guys will help place a really great organization in your space. So allgoodwork.org, register there, and we'll help you place a great organization in your space. And finally, I also help to run a nonprofit called Open Coworking. and it is a organization that manages the free resources that power the co-working movement and have made the co-working movement a household name. So if you've ever been to the co-working Google group, co-working wiki, co-working blog, if you've ever used the co-working visa program, anything that you can find on coworking.org, all of this is made possible because of the people who built this movement, and Open Co-working's job is to make that movement continue to live and to thrive. All those resources need a lot of work, and so the more that you guys can support it, the more that myself and the people that I bring on can help to make all those resources better. And so I just launched a Patreon campaign, and anybody who pledges $10 or more, the first 20 or 25 or so people will get a hand-drawn Muji notebook that I've been literally working on for the last many hours, as you know. So please join that, back at $10 a month or more, cancel anytime. And I've also got a clipboard, so if you want to get in touch with me, I will send you a free community audit and some notes for my talk. And gosh, I have one more slide. Oh yeah. Work doesn't have to suck. Let's show the world how to do it. Thank you so much, everybody. And let's make some noise for Ashley Proctor, everybody.
Somehow I knew Tony was up for the challenge. Day one. Well done, my friend. Well done.